I never thought a harmless April Fool's party could nearly blow up my marriage. What started as a surprise visit from my cousins turned into one of the most chaotic nights I've had in years. One prank crossed a serious line, and suddenly I was caught between loyalty to family and protecting the trust of the woman I love. So what really happened? It all kicked off around 2 in the afternoon. I was halfway through cleaning out the garage when I heard the knock. Then the doorbell. Then laughter. I opened the front door to find my 3 cousins, Dylan, Marcus, and Trent, standing there with a bunch of their friends I barely recognized, uninvited, loud, and clearly in party mode. "Surprise!" Dylan grinned, holding up a bag of chips and a bottle of tequila like that justified everything. I blinked. What's going on?" "April Fools, bro. Thought we'd crash at your place and celebrate the old school way, like when we were kids." I should have said no, should have told them to turn around and find another house to barge into, but I hesitated. Part of me missed that energy, wild, chaotic, the kind of fun that doesn't check the clock or ask permission. Against my better judgment, I stepped aside and let them in. We started cooking together, laughing as we tried to coordinate 10 people in one kitchen. It was a mess, but it felt good. Music played from someone's phone, drinks flowed, and we all got a little too comfortable, a little too fast. It was reckless and unplanned, but it felt like family. Or at least it did for a while. My wife, Emily, had been out running errands and wasn't supposed to be back until later that evening. I figured we'd clean up and wind things down before she walked in, and maybe I could get away with it. But life doesn't work like that. By 6 p.m., I was sitting on the back patio with Marcus and a couple of the guys, sipping whiskey and watching the sun start to dip. That's when the sliding glass door opened behind me. Emily stood there, arms crossed, eyes locked on mine, with a look I'd never seen before. Cold, hurt, angry. "Are you cheating on me?" she asked, her voice shaking. My glass nearly slipped from my hand. "What? No, what are you talking about?" She stepped closer. "Let me see your phone." My mind scrambled to piece things together. Why was she asking that? What did she hear? What could possibly have made her believe I was cheating? Without thinking, I handed her my phone. She turned and walked straight to our bedroom, locking the door behind her. Now imagine being surrounded by laughter and music one minute, and absolute silence the next. The party noise faded. I couldn't hear anything except the sound of my heart thudding in my chest. I didn't even know what to say to the others. Didn't know if I should be panicking or brushing it off. What would you have done in that moment? Would you chase her down and demand an answer, or sit tight and hope it blows over? She stayed in there for 30 long minutes, and every second was torture. I knew I hadn't done anything wrong, but the weight of suspicion, even when unfounded, is heavy. And when it comes from the one person who trusts you most, it cuts deep. By the time Emily walked back out, her expression said it all. She didn't find anything, but the damage was already done. And I still had no idea who planted that seed in her head, or why. Who would do something like that? And for what reason? I didn't know it yet, but the so-called prank was just getting started. Emily didn't yell. She didn't cry. She just looked at me with this tight-lipped fury, the kind of anger that doesn't explode. It simmers, low and dangerous. "I swear to God, Alex," she said slowly, almost whispering, "if I ever find out you're cheating on me, I will make you regret it. I didn't marry you to end up humiliated." I was speechless, not because I'd been caught doing something wrong, I hadn't, but because the trust I thought we'd built was suddenly hanging by a thread. How could she believe, even for a second, that I was capable of something like that? She tossed my phone back to me like it disgusted her. "You've got nothing on there, but don't think I'll let it go next time, if there's ever a next time." Next time, the words hit like a gut punch. There shouldn't even be a first time, let alone a second. I opened my mouth to speak, but before I could say anything, the living room erupted into awkward murmurs. Dylan and his crew had realized something was off, and they slowly drifted back inside to see what was going on. That's when it all unraveled. One of the women, some girl named Tasha, who'd come along with Trent, stepped forward, nervously giggling. Okay, it was just a prank. We didn't think she'd take it seriously." Emily turned to her, dead quiet. "What do you mean, a prank?" Tasha looked over at the others, clearly unsure if she should keep talking. But Marcus jumped in, trying to play it off. Yeah, we told her you were messing around. Just an April Fool's thing. You know, harmless fun. Harmless? Emily's face went white, then red. She looked like she was trying to physically hold back the urge to scream. You told me my husband was cheating on me. As a joke? Tasha shrugged, still laughing a little, like maybe this would blow over if she kept it light. Come on, it's not like it's true. We thought it'd be funny. Funny? Emily's voice cracked. Do you know what that did to me? You don't play with something like that, ever. I could feel the air get heavier, thick with tension. Every eye was on Emily now. She wasn't dramatic by nature. She didn't blow up easily. So when she snapped, it meant something. I want all of you out, she said firmly. Now. Dylan chuckled nervously. Whoa, hey, Em, don't be like that. Don't ever call me that again. Her voice silenced the room. No one moved. Even I was frozen, torn between keeping the peace and backing the woman I promised to protect. What would you do if your own family stepped so far out of line they hurt the person you love most? I finally stepped up. You heard her. Pack your stuff and leave. The laughter died. The smirks faded. A few mumbled, whatever, Zen, she's overreacting, floated around, but they gathered their bags and filed out one by one. Nobody apologized. Not really. The door closed behind them with a dull thud, and just like that, our home was quiet again. But the silence wasn't peaceful. Emily sat down on the edge of the couch, her head in her hands. I can't believe they thought that was okay, she whispered. I sat beside her, keeping my distance. I didn't know, Em, I swear. If I had, I would have shut it down. She didn't answer, and in that moment I knew this wasn't over. Not for her, and maybe not for me either. The quiet hung in the air long after they left. I could hear the hum of the fridge, the ticking of the wall clock, even the soft creak of the couch cushions every time Emily shifted her weight. But neither of us spoke, and honestly, I didn't know what to say. How do you apologize for something you didn't do, but still somehow allowed? I glanced over at her, her face buried in her hands, her shoulders rising and falling slowly. She looked exhausted, more emotionally than physically, and that broke me a little inside. I had let my guard down, let people into our home who treated her emotions like a game. That wasn't just on them. That was on me, too. Finally, when she spoke. Why didn't you stop them? Her voice was quiet, but the words were sharp. Not accusing, not yet, but close. I didn't know, I said honestly. I swear I had no idea they were going to pull something like that. If I'd even thought they would, but you do know them, she interrupted, sitting up now, her eyes locking onto mine. You know how they are. You knew they were drinking. You knew they're careless. So why didn't you think for 1 second that something like this could happen? She was right. I did know them. I just didn't expect them to go that far. Maybe I gave them too much credit. Maybe I gave myself too little responsibility. I didn't protect you, I admitted, and I'm sorry for that. She turned away, her ear clenched, staring out the window. The early evening light cast long shadows across the floor, and I suddenly realized how foreign our home felt, like something sacred had been violated. I don't want them back here, she said finally. Not in this house, not around me. That was non-negotiable. Her tone made that clear. Okay, I said, they're not welcome anymore. But as I said it, I felt something twist in my gut, because I knew what was coming next. It didn't take long. Less than an hour after the door closed behind them, I started getting the text. Dylan, really? You just let her throw us out like that? Marcus, bro, you're seriously whipped. That was a joke. We were joking. Trent, so we're banned from your house now? Over what? A prank that lasted 10 minutes? The more I read, the angrier I got. Was I supposed to laugh along? Let my wife feel humiliated in her own home while they clinked glasses and patted themselves on the back? What kind of man would that make me? So I answered, I don't care if it was a prank, it wasn't funny. You crossed a line and you owe her an apology. Until then, don't expect to come around. Their responses weren't surprising. Accusations, insults, a few memes and voice messages mocking the situation. Who the hell pranks someone about infidelity and expects them to just laugh it off? How would they have reacted if the tables were turned? Emily was sitting across from me, watching silently as my phone lit up over and over. She didn't say anything, but I could tell she was waiting to see how I'd respond. So I stood up, walked into the kitchen, and blocked every one of them. Not because I wanted to cut ties, but because I finally realized who deserved my loyalty and who absolutely didn't. The next morning, the house still felt heavy. Emily didn't say much, but I noticed the way she avoided looking at me directly, the way her fingers tapped against her coffee mug, the way her phone stayed close even though she wasn't scrolling or texting anyone. She was thinking, processing, probably wondering what else might be hidden behind the smile of the man she married. And that hurt more than anything. I sat across from her at the table, unsure whether I should speak or just give her space. The words I wanted to say felt small, useless. Apologies had already been made. Promises had already been spoken. But trust? That's something you can't just speak into existence. So I asked quietly, "Do you believe me now?" She looked up slowly, her expression unreadable. "I believe you didn't cheat." That "but" lingered in the air, even though she didn't say it. But I don't know why it got that far. But I don't know if I can trust them again. But I don't know if I can trust you to see it coming next time. That's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't have to be real to leave a scar. Just the possibility of betrayal is enough to shake the foundation of something strong. I sighed and rubbed my hands together. "Emily, I know I messed up. I should have set boundaries the second they showed up. I let them act like our home was their playground, and you got caught in the crossfire. That's on me." Her eyes softened just a little, not much, but enough to tell me she was listening. "You did," she agreed, "and I don't want to live in a house where people think it's funny to joke about cheating. That's not a joke to me." "I know, and I'll make sure it never happens again." She looked at me for a long time before speaking again. "I want to go to stay with my sister for a couple of days." That hit me like a brick. "Are you leaving?" "No," she said quickly, standing up and reaching for her coat. "I'm not leaving you. I just need to breathe. Think. Be around someone who makes me feel safe." And that's when it really sank in. She didn't feel safe. Not because I'd done something to hurt her, but because I didn't stop others from doing it. I let the people I called family create a moment that made her question her reality, her relationship, her worth. That's not something you just get over in a night. As she packed a small bag, I sat on the edge of the bed watching the woman I loved retreat for her own peace. And I didn't stop her. Because sometimes love doesn't mean holding on tight. It means giving space when it's needed most. Before she walked out, she paused at the door. "I still love you, Alex. But love doesn't mean I'll tolerate disrespect. Not from you, not from anyone." Then she was gone. And I was left sitting in the silence, wondering how many men had stood exactly where I was. Faithful, yet unsure if they were about to lose everything because they failed to protect it when it mattered most. What would you do if the people closest to you became the reason the person you loved most started slipping away? The first night without her in the house felt hollow. I kept glancing toward the bedroom, half expecting to see her brushing her hair, scrolling her phone, humming while she got ready for bed. But it was empty, just like the spot beside me on the couch, the side of the bed that stayed untouched, the quiet that swallowed the rooms where laughter used to live. It's strange how absence can be louder than presence. I wanted to call her 100 times, just to ask how she was, if she was warm, if she'd eaten, but I didn't. I knew she needed space, and I had to respect that, even if it killed me. Instead, I cleaned the house top to bottom. Not out of guilt, though there was plenty of that, but because I needed something to do, something that made me feel like I was taking care of her, even if she wasn't there to see it. I threw away the leftover drinks and snacks from the party. I boxed up a few of the things Dylan and the guys had left behind, and I sat with myself in the silence, replaying everything. What if I had just told them no? What if I'd remembered who this home was built for, and who had the right to feel safe inside it? 2 days passed before I heard from her. A simple text. "Can we talk?" My heart jumped. We met at a quiet cafe just outside the city, where no one knew us, no eyes were watching. She looked tired but composed, like she'd done the work of sorting through her storm and now came with clarity. I listened as she spoke. She told me about the spiral that moment had triggered, how deeply it unsettled her to be told her husband was cheating, how real it felt in the moment, no matter how ridiculous it sounded after. And most of all, how alone she felt when I didn't step in immediately to defend her. I needed you to protect me, Alex, she said, eyes glassy but steady. Not just from them, but from doubt, from pain. That's what a partner does. I nodded, my throat tight. I know, and I'm sorry, I didn't understand in the moment, but I do now, I really do. We sat in silence for a bit, sipping coffee that had long gone cold. Then I said the thing I'd been thinking all along. They're out of my life. I've blocked them. They don't come before you. They never should have. She didn't smile, but I saw something in her soften. Maybe it was acceptance. Maybe it was the first sign of healing. I don't want to hold this over you, she said, but I need time. I need to believe that when it matters, you'll have my back. Not just in words, but in action. I will, I promised. I'm not perfect, but I'm learning. And I'm not going to lose you over a lesson I should have known already. She reached for my hand. It wasn't a grand gesture. It didn't mean everything was fixed, but it meant something. Forgiveness doesn't always come wrapped in fireworks. Sometimes it's in quiet moments, in a simple gesture that says, I'm still here, and I'll spend every day proving that I deserve that. So let me ask you this. What do you do when a single moment tests everything you've built? Do you fold or do you fight for it? I chose to fight, and I'm not done yet. What about you? How would you feel if someone shattered your peace with a so-called joke like that? Would you have reacted the same way Emily did? Or would you have handled it differently? I really want to know. Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you felt the weight of this story, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps me feel like I'm not alone in this, like you're walking through it with me. Sometimes knowing someone out there understands, that's everything. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here.